Welcome. Making a compelling and persuasive presentation will usually set you well apart from dull competitors. Coming up are 7 top tips to help you stand out from the rest. Number 1. Conclusion first. The key to remaining focused on your objective is to create your last impression first. Build your conclusion first in order to set the pattern or direction for all of the supporting elements to be presented. Your last impression or conclusion is the verbal description of your overall objective. Number 2, visual thinking. Most people are visual creatures. They get their information and stimulation from television, movies, YouTube, computers and video games. All of these forms are driven by action. Visual creators demand action, so you need to script your information conceptually. A visual presenter embodies a message, delivers it with action and creates a lasting impression. The more conceptual the message, the easier it is for individual presenters to personalize the message. So, first write a 1-sentence description of what your company does or what your specific department is responsible for. Now, be descriptive, but limit your narration to 1 complete sentence. Next, create 3 bullet points, short phrases, that cover the 1-sentence description that you just written. And finally reduce the 3 bullet points to 1 word for each bullet, and if possible, make each word begin with the same letter of the alphabet. On the screen are the 3 words I derived for a shredding company. Number 3, tell a true story. Better presentations contain good stories, so there's a need for effective storytelling. A story should capture the attention of an audience, but in a way that keeps the group from drifting. If you establish time, place and circumstance, the story can be very effective for the group as a whole. If you mentioned when it happened, where it happened and what conditions would present when it happened, the audience doesn't have to be concerned with filling in the details. The phrase, "A few months ago there was a big event and the world was fascinated by it," is far too vague. But the sentence, "In April of 2010, on a sun-filled day, over 1 million people lined the streets of London to watch a royal wedding procession," is much more specific and thus vivid for the audience. Notice how the details of time, place and circumstance help create a more accurate image of the situation. Number 4, real-world analogy. When using analogies, try to make them as real-world as possible. The advantage of drawing a likeness between something in your content and an everyday activity is that the audience transfers the benefits of the real experience to your information. For example, a simple analogy for a maker of digital video cameras might be to specify that a particular model is the Rolls-Royce of the industry. The public impression of Rolls-Royce is one of quality, and the audience makes a transfer of quality to the digital camera. And if the reference applies to an everyday experience, the next time that experience occurs, for example seeing a Rolls-Royce, the audience will make the connection to your analogy. It's a good way to get after the fact mindshare when the presentation is over. Number 5, limit your expertise. If you have a great deal of expertise, the content can be more visual than verbal, more conceptual than concrete. However, there are times when the expertise leads to wordiness and the audience is bombarded with too many long-winded explanations. Usually the more advanced your vocabulary, the harder it will be for you to get to the point. The scientific name for this is hyperfluency or educational discourse. Number 6, open with a hook. An opening hook is critical to raise the attention level of the audience at the very beginning of the presentation. A hook is used for changing something about the way an audience thinks. It can be any credible or even doubtful piece of information which when presented causes the audience to immediately react. The hook can be a bit of research, a little known but interesting fact, a revelation, a controversial opinion, a current event. And since the audience arrives at your presentation in neutral, their emotions and thoughts have yet to be swayed. So your goal is to get them in gear, moving them in some direction. The key is that the audience is forced to decide to accept or reject the hook, thereby